1, 2, 3, let's go.
Wednesday afternoon, hoping you will tune into our show. It's
Can you? Good.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Well done.
Yeah, me. Oh, that was an ordeal and a half. Right, how have you been?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, that's good. Right, so do you want to do the introduction for us, please?
Yes, I do. Yes. Good afternoon, viewers and listeners to the Alien Spaceship. We are going to discuss a few things today. Hopefully you'll find them of interest. I am Trevor Gear and he calls me bruv.
And I'm Emmy Hikins and he calls me Cuz. Welcome to the Alien Spaceship. Right, so I understand that I am I'm going to be grilled today.
You're in the hot seat again. Well, we didn't finish really last week, so
no.
So I've got a few of those from last week, but also some new kind of, I suppose, discussion questions which I'd be interested in your views on. Right. So under the heading questions for Cuz, the first one is, now, okay, we don't do politics, we don't do religion. Inevitably, some of the things we talk about sort of overlap a little bit. And this first question is not meant to do that. The fact that it is one of the 10 Commandments doesn't make this a religious question, really. But the commandment in question is honor your father and your mother. Now, we all know that's one of the 10 commandments which Moses brought down from the hill, the mountain. Now, the question is to you, Cuz, if you, and I'm not being personal to you at all, but if in somebody's life, if their parents were not very honourable, if you like, if there was a very poor upbringing for a child, for example. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean to say it's at the high end of that spectrum, or it could be, but even if there was sort of almost unintended emotional abuse throughout one's childhood, which may carry on into adulthood as well, or even physical abuse, if, you know, sometimes you see a movie or something and a child will get sort of smacked around the face or really badly across the arm, something like that. Now, if that was a feature of somebody's childhood, their upbringing, and even sometimes continuing maybe that lack of respect for the child, albeit now an adult, but let's think about the childhood bit. Does that commandment, honor your father and your mother, still apply? And if I can put the next part of that question to you, if you were in a situation such as that you didn't feel your upbringing was correct, and you felt ignored, or you felt sometimes you were smacked hard, or worse, you know, with a slipper or something like that, God forbid, would you still adhere in those sort of circumstances to that commandment that you would honor your father and your mother, whatever that may mean? I mean, we can discuss that, but I mean, honoring your father and your mother presumably means you would still try to be a good offspring to them and you respect them and so on. But if you never had that as a child, and maybe when you're older, what is your view? Would you adhere to that commandment?
I think it'd be divided into two parts. So the first part would be I think the first part will be, you look at it from the respect for authority. So be in the home or 1, 2, 3, let's go.
Wednesday afternoon, hoping you will tune into our show. It's hosted by Cuz. He'll introduce the gang who'll make the show go with a bang, with fun.
So be in the home or outside the home, actually, because whatever happens in the home then transcends to what happens outside. hence the saying, charity begins at home. Now, the other part, well, that's the two parts. But then the part of it that I'll be thinking is, two wrongs don't actually make a right. So if your parents are, not behaving the way that, a normal parent should, and that, it stands to question, don't it? What's a normal parent? But a normal parenting or a normal parent. But if your parents fall short of the requirements, the basic requirements of, carrying out their parental responsibilities, as we'd call it, would that then free you of the, your responsibility as a child to not obey your parents? I think it would depend on how far they go, and then it would depend on what sort of damage psychologically that has caused you as a child. And I'll explain that. So for instance, if a child growing up, a child's natural instinct is to push boundaries. A child will push boundaries. I told you not to do that, and they'll do it. They just want to see what punishment comes, and then if there's no adequate reprove, what they then do is they take it a step further. Now reverse that and apply it to the parents. So the parents are actually not doing what they're supposed to do. No, that doesn't relieve you of the of the commandment or of your responsibility as a child, which you're not very responsible as a child, are you? Let's face it. As a child, you're dependent solely on the guidance of whoever is there, be your parents or your guardian or whoever is there to bring you up. So you're dependent on them to guide you in life. And if that is not there, then you're bound to be either wayward, depends on how far it goes, or be rebellious. And that would spill over into adulthood. But as a child, now if you ask me that question as a child, I would say absolutely not. I will not obey them because they're not setting a good example, because they're not doing this. Because that's a natural instinct as a child. But when you grow up, it's a different thing.
1, 2, 3, let's go.
Wednesday afternoon, hoping you will tune into our show. It's hosted by Cuz. He'll introduce the gang who'll make the show go with a bang.